Join me in this moving story that will touch your heart and make you reflect on the power of kindness and unexpected connections. When Maria, a hardworking hotel made originally from Mexico, risks her job to help Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett during a chaotic political conference, she never imagines the consequences. Fired for breaching protocol, Maria struggles to support her family until a surprising turn of events brings her back into Crockett's orbit. This emotional journey explores themes of courage, justice, and how small acts of compassion can transform lives in unexpected ways. Where are you watching me from? Leave a comment below. The morning chaos at the Grand Horizon Hotel in downtown Dallas is in full swing as Maria Suarez hurries down a service corridor, balancing fresh towels on her cleaning cart. At 43, she's mastered the art of invisibility expected of hotel staff, efficient, silent, and unobtrusive. 17 years of cleaning rooms has taught her to read the guests, which ones leave tips, which ones create disasters, and which ones actually see her as a person. Maria, the conference rooms need double-checking. The political summit is starting in an hour. Her supervisor barks through the radio, clipped to her uniform. "See, Mr. Reynolds, I'm going now," she replies, redirecting her cart toward the elevators. The hotel buzzes with security personnel and staff preparing for the high-profile Texas Democratic Convention. As Maria enters the empty keynote hall to do a final inspection, she notices a woman frantically searching through her briefcase at the podium, clearly distressed. "Excuse me, ma'am, can I help you?" Maria asks softly. The woman looks up, and Maria instantly recognizes Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, whose passionate speeches she's admired on television. The Congresswoman's usually confident demeanor is replaced with genuine panic. "My speech notes and presentation drive are missing. I had them in my hotel room last night, but now they're gone, and I'm speaking in 40 minutes, Crockett explains, her voice tense but controlled. Maria feels a tug of recognition. "Room 718? I cleaned it this morning. There were papers by the desk that housekeeping collected." The Congresswoman's eyes widen. "Can you get them? Please." Maria hesitates. Hotel policy strictly forbids entering storage without supervisor approval, especially during high-security events. Going against protocol could cost her the job she desperately needs to support her daughter's college education and send money to her aging parents in Mexico. But the urgency in Jasmine Crockett's eyes makes the decision for her. "I'll find them for you, Congresswoman," Maria promises, already hurrying toward the door. What she doesn't see is Mr. Reynolds watching from the shadows, his expression hardening as he witnesses this unauthorized interaction. The choice Maria makes in this moment will set in motion consequences she cannot possibly foresee, testing her resilience and ultimately changing both women's lives forever. Maria races through the service corridors, heart pounding. The storage room is off limits without authorization, but she knows exactly where the collected items from room 718 would be placed. Slipping her master key into the lock, she enters quickly, locates the manila envelope labeled with the room number, and confirms it contains the speech notes and a USB drive. As she hurries back toward the conference hall, Mr. Reynolds steps directly into her path. "What are you doing with those materials, Maria?" His voice is cold, suspicious. Congresswoman Crockett needed her speech notes. They were accidentally collected from her room, Maria explains, trying to keep her voice steady. "You know the protocol. All guest item returns must be processed through the front desk with proper documentation, especially during high-security events." His eyes narrow. "And you entered a restricted area without authorization. But she speaks in minutes, Mr. Reynolds. There wasn't time." "That's not your decision to make," he interrupts. "Give me those items. I'll handle this properly." Maria hesitates, remembering the Congresswoman's panicked expression. "I promised her I would bring these back." "Your job is to clean rooms, not make promises to politicians," he says. This is a serious breach of protocol. Something in Maria stiffens. After 17 years of following every rule, of bending her head and saying yes, sir, and sorry, sir, she makes a decision. "I need to return these first. Then you can write me up." She steps around him and continues walking. "This is insubordination," he calls after her. "You'll regret this, Suarez." When Maria reaches the conference hall, it's filling with attendees. She spots Congresswoman Crockett near the stage, speaking tensely with an aide. "Congresswoman," Maria says, approaching quickly, "I found your materials." Relief floods Jasmine Crockett's face as she takes the envelope. "Thank you. You have no idea how important this is." "It was no problem," Maria says, though they both know it's not true. "Good luck with your speech." As she turns to leave, Maria sees Mr. Reynolds watching from the doorway, already on his phone to the hotel manager. By the end of her shift, Maria is called to the office where her employment is terminated for multiple policy violations and security breaches. As she empties her locker, the gravity of what she's lost crashes down on her. How will she pay Carmen's tuition? How will she send money home to Oaxaca? For all her years of service, she doesn't even receive severance pay. Outside the hotel, Maria sits on a bench, staring at the final paycheck in her hands, wondering if her moment of compassion was worth the cost. 2 months pass, and Maria's situation grows increasingly desperate. Despite her experience and references, finding new employment proved challenging. Hotels are reluctant to hire someone fired for security violations, and Maria's savings dwindle rapidly. She takes on cleaning houses and babysitting gigs, but it's not enough. On a rainy Tuesday morning, Maria sits at her small kitchen table, bills spread before her. Carmen's college tuition payment is due next week, and her mother in Mexico needs money for heart medication. The weight of these responsibilities presses down on her until she can barely breathe. The doorbell rings, surprising her. Outside stands a young woman in a professional pantsuit. "Miss Suarez? I'm Tamika Johnson from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's office. May I come in?" Bewildered, Maria invites her inside. "The Congresswoman has been trying to find you for weeks," Tamika explains, settling on Maria's worn couch. "After your assistance at the hotel, she wanted to thank you personally, but when she returned later that day, she was told you no longer worked there." Maria's throat tightens. "They fired me for helping her." Tamika nods gravely. "That's what we suspected. Congresswoman Crockett was giving a speech on worker protections when your situation came to her attention. She feels responsible." "It was my choice," Maria says quietly. "Nevertheless, she would like to meet with you. Would you be willing to come to her district office tomorrow?" Curiosity outweighs Maria's hesitation. What could a congresswoman possibly want with her? The next day, Maria enters the sleek office building, feeling out of place in her best blouse and slacks. She's led to a conference room where Jasmine Crockett rises to greet her, extending her hand warmly. "Maria, thank you for coming. I never got to properly thank you for what you did." "It was nothing, really," Maria says automatically. "No, it wasn't nothing. It was everything." Jasmine's eyes are intense, sincere. That speech contained crucial research on housing discrimination in Dallas. Your actions helped ensure it reached the right people. She gestures for Maria to sit. "I was horrified to learn you were terminated. That speech you saved? It led to a congressional inquiry into housing practices that's creating real change. And here you lost your livelihood for doing the right thing." Jasmine leans forward. "Maria, I have a proposition for you. My office needs someone with your attention to detail and integrity. Would you consider joining my constituent services team?" Maria stares at her, stunned. "But I'm just a hotel maid. I don't know anything about politics. You know about people. You know what it means to work hard and face injustice. That's exactly what we need." Jasmine slides a folder across the table. Full benefits, better salary than the hotel, and most importantly, respect for your work. For the first time in months, hope flutters in Maria's chest. This unexpected turn feels almost unreal. From unemployed, made to congressional staff? "Can I really do this?" she whispers, more to herself than to Jasmine. "I believe you can," Jasmine answers. "The question is, are you willing to try?" Maria's first days in Congresswoman Crockett's office are overwhelming. The pace is frenetic, the terminology unfamiliar, and the responsibilities daunting. Sitting at her new desk, surrounded by college-educated staffers discussing policy points and legislative strategies, she feels the weight of imposter syndrome crushing her confidence. "I don't belong here," she whispers to herself during lunch, alone in the break room. This was a mistake. That afternoon, an elderly woman enters the office, distressed about an eviction notice. The other staffers are busy, so Maria hesitantly approaches. "Can I help you, Senora?" she asks in her accented English. The woman looks relieved to find someone who speaks to her with warmth. "They're taking my home," she explains, trembling. 40 years in the same apartment, and now they say the building is being converted to luxury condos. Maria recognizes the address. It's in the same neighborhood where many former hotel colleagues live. She sits with the woman, carefully documenting her situation, applying the constituent services training she's received, but adding her personal touch of compassion. Jasmine Crockett, passing by, pauses to observe. Later, she calls Maria into her office. "That was impressive work with Mrs. Patterson today," Jasmine says. Maria blushes. "I just listened. I know about housing problems. Many of my friends." "Exactly," Jasmine interrupts. "You understand these issues from lived experience, not just theory. That's invaluable." Over the following weeks, Maria immerses herself in learning. She stays late studying housing regulations, attends community meetings, and begins building a database of resources for constituents facing similar challenges. When she stumbles over complex documents, she asks questions without shame. When she doesn't understand political nuances, she seeks clarification. The turning point comes when Jasmine asks Maria to accompany her to a town hall meeting about gentrification. Standing nervously beside the Congresswoman, Maria suddenly recognizes faces in the crowd. Former hotel co-workers, neighbors, people from her community. When Jasmine introduces her as our housing specialist, the audience's reaction surprises her. These people, her people, look at her with respect, even pride. During the Q&A session, Maria finds herself confidently explaining tenant rights in both English and Spanish, bridging the gap between the political language of legislation and the everyday concerns of working people. Later that night, Carmen calls from college. "How was the town hall, Mama? Did you speak?" "I did," Maria says, allowing herself to feel proud. "I think I'm finally finding my place here." "I knew you would," her daughter replies. "You've always been strong. You just needed the right opportunity to show everyone else." For the first time since losing her hotel job, Maria feels the painful constriction in her chest ease. The path ahead remains challenging, but now she walks it with growing confidence. The hotel door closed, but Jasmine Crockett opened another, one Maria never imagined possible for herself. 6 months into Maria's new position, she's become an integral part of Congresswoman Crockett's housing initiative. The database she created has helped dozens of constituents navigate housing challenges, and her community outreach efforts have strengthened the office's connection with working-class neighborhoods. Today, however, brings a particularly challenging case. The Grand Horizon Hotel, Maria's former workplace, is being purchased by a development corporation that plans to convert it to luxury condominiums, eliminating hundreds of jobs and displacing longtime employees who live in staff housing. They're targeting properties all across the district, Maria explains during the staff meeting, spreading photos across the conference table. The hotel is just their latest acquisition. Jasmine studies the documents carefully. This is the same corporation involved in those predatory leases we investigated last month. "Maria, what do you know about the hotel situation?" "Many workers have been there for decades. The staff housing is the only affordable option for them in that area," Maria replies. "If they lose both housing and employment simultaneously, we need to act quickly," Jasmine decides. "Let's organize a public hearing." What no one anticipates is Mr. Reynolds, Maria's former supervisor, attending the hearing as the hotel's representative. When Maria arises to present employee testimonies she's collected, she meets his cold stare across the room. Ms. Suarez was terminated for security violations, he interrupts, voice dripping with disdain. Her evidence should be considered compromised by personal vendetta. The room tenses. Jasmine stands. Ms. Suarez is a respected member of my staff whose integrity is beyond question. Your attempt to discredit her speaks volumes about your own motivations. This development will create jobs and improve the neighborhood. Reynolds counters smoothly. For whom? Maria asks, finding courage she never knew she possessed. Not for the 50 housekeepers who raised their children while cleaning rooms. Not for the maintenance workers who kept your building functioning for 20 years. She steps forward, addressing the community members present rather than the officials. I know what it's like to be invisible in these conversations, to have decisions made about your life by people who have never walked in your shoes. Her voice strengthens as she continues. This isn't about one hotel or one development. It's about who has the right to remain in the communities they've built. It's about dignity for workers who make this city function. The room erupts in applause. Reporters scribble furiously. Reynolds looks stunned by this transformed version of the quiet Maid he once dismissed. Later, when the development corporation unexpectedly withdraws its conversion plans following massive public pressure and scrutiny of their business practices, Maria realizes a profound truth. The same courage that cost her a job has now helped save hundreds of others. Standing beside Jasmine as the Congresswoman announces new worker protection legislation named in honor of the hotel employees' fight, Maria feels the final pieces of her new identity falling into place. 1 year later, the landscape has changed dramatically. The Fair Housing and Worker Protection Act, championed by Congresswoman Crockett with Maria's crucial input, has passed. The legislation provides unprecedented protections for service workers and affordable housing guarantees. The Grand Horizon Hotel operates under new management that has implemented improved working conditions and fair wages. Maria sits in her office, no longer a cubicle, but a proper space with her name on the door. Maria Suarez, Community Housing Director. On her wall hangs her recently completed associate's degree in public administration, pursued in evening classes with Jasmine's encouragement. A knock at her door reveals Mr. Reynolds, looking considerably less imposing than he once did. Ms. Suarez, he begins awkwardly. I've been asked to consult with your office about implementing the new worker protection standards at several hotels in the district. Maria studies the man who once fired her, noting how different their positions are now. She could refuse to work with him, a small revenge for past injustice. Instead, she gestures to the chair across from her desk. The standards are non-negotiable, she says firmly, but I'm willing to discuss implementation timelines that are realistic for businesses while still respecting workers' rights. Reynolds nods, a flicker of respect crossing his face. That's fair. More than fair, actually. As they begin reviewing the documentation, Maria realizes how profoundly her life has transformed. The firing that once seemed catastrophic had ultimately redirected her toward work with greater purpose and impact. Later that evening, at a community center in her old neighborhood, Maria addresses a group of hotel workers, many of them former colleagues. 1 year ago, I stood where you're sitting now, scared about my future, she tells them. Today, I'm here to help you understand your new rights under the law. She watches understanding dawn on their faces as she explains the protections they now have. The same protections she once desperately needed but didn't have. Sometimes, she concludes, losing what you thought was everything opens the door to something better. The important thing is to walk through that door with courage. After the meeting, Jasmine approaches, beaming with pride. Representative Suarez has a nice ring to it, don't you think? She says quietly. Maria laughs, but the idea takes root somewhere deep inside. Perhaps someday. For now, she's exactly where she needs to be, building bridges between those with power and those who deserve to be heard. 5 years later, the Grand Horizon Hotel hosts a very different event, a campaign kickoff. Colorful banners hang throughout the renovated Grand Ballroom, where once Maria had pushed her cleaning cart. The room buzzes with energy as community activists, labor organizers, and ordinary citizens gather in anticipation. Carmen, now a law school graduate, adjusts her mother's blazer before she takes the stage. You're ready for this, Mama. Remember how far you've come. Maria nods, surveying the crowd that includes many faces from her journey. Former hotel colleagues now in management positions thanks to the worker development program she helped create. Residents of formerly threatened neighborhoods now protected by housing legislation. Young Latino women inspired by her pathway from maid to public servant. Jasmine Crockett approaches, embracing Maria warmly. Now a senior congresswoman with growing national influence, she remains Maria's most steadfast mentor. "The first time I met you," Jasmine says quietly, "you risked everything to help me. Today I get to stand beside you as you take this next step." Together, they walk to the podium where Maria takes a deep breath before addressing the cheering crowd. "Good morning. My name is Maria Suarez, and today I'm announcing my candidacy for City Council District 3. The applause washes over her as she continues. "My journey began in this very building, where I once cleaned rooms and was invisible to the powerful people whose decisions shaped my life." She gestures to the diverse crowd. "Our city belongs to all who build it, care for it, and call a home. Every voice deserves to be part of the conversation about its future." In the back of the room, Mr. Reynolds, now a compliance officer for the Hotel Workers Union, watches with a complex mixture of emotions on his face. The woman he once fired might soon become his elected representative. As Maria concludes her speech, Carmen squeezes her mother's hand. "You know what Abuela would say if she could see you now." Maria smiles, thinking of her mother who passed away 2 years ago, but lived long enough to see her daughter testify before Congress. She'd say that sometimes the hardest moments lead to the greatest blessings. Looking out at the community that has become her extended family, Maria realizes the truth of that wisdom. What began as a moment of compassion for a distraught congresswoman had set in motion a transformation greater than she could have imagined. Not just for herself, but for countless others whose voices now carried weight in rooms where decisions are made. This story reminds us that our greatest setbacks often become the foundation for unexpected triumphs. Maria's journey from invisible hotel worker to powerful community advocate shows how a single act of courage can ripple outward, creating change far beyond what we might imagine possible. Her story teaches us that our true potential often lies just beyond our comfort zones, waiting for the moment when circumstances push us to discover strengths we never knew we possessed. What part of Maria's transformation surprised you the most? Share in the comments and subscribe for more stories that will inspire you to find opportunity in life's most challenging moments.